Today we'll be doing 4 Christmas DIYs for Christmastown. I'm starting out with these 2 Nutcracker salt and pepper shakers I got from Dollar General for $3. And I've got several different ribbons that I'm going to use. I also need some wire that I'm able to bend. And we're going to start out by getting these Nutcrackers out of the box and ready to use. I'm going to get out my bow dabber for this. I'm not making a bow, but we're going to make a tassel. So I'm just going to start by cutting the lengths of the ribbons I'm going to use. You want them to be kind of long because you want them to hang down pretty far. So I'm just starting out with this blue ribbon. I also have that gold curly ribbon over there that is actually a bow that I took apart. And I'm just going to cut the lengths that I want of all of the ribbons. Once I have the ribbons ready, I just start stacking them in the bow dabra. Those curly ones weren't really that long, so I just stacked them in there, just putting a little part of it on one side and the rest on the other. And I just made sure to add one on each side. And I'm just stacking them until I get a pretty thick tassel. I did add in some fabric on this one. You can add whatever you'd like. And then I'm just taking a piece of jute and tying them right in the middle. And it forms like a tassel. So instead of completing your tassel, you're going to get out some of the wire and you're going to push it through the top of your salt and pepper shakers. And you want to push it all the way through. You want to make sure it's long enough to reach out and be able to tie around your tassel. Once you get it in there, pull it all the way tight so that it is really tight in there, because you want to be able to pull it back up and have the tassel go up into the bottom of your salt and pepper shaker. So here I'm just attaching the tassel on there, and I'm pulling. I have to kind of squeeze that because it wouldn't go in, but I want to pull that all the way down. So you want to make sure that you do that, and just be careful not to break your salt shaker. All right, now that I've got it pulled tight, I'm going to twist my wire down here and cut off any excess that is remaining. I'm just using these scissors because that's what I have handy. They're old scissors that I just use for things like that, but I would suggest using some wire cutters. Here you're going to want to use some jewelry pliers or something like that to pull this up. I'm using these scissors because that's what I have again, but you want to just be sure that you use something that you're not breaking the top of your Nutcracker. And then once you get that pulled up enough that you can twist it around with either the pliers or your hand to make a loop so that you have somewhere to tie a ribbon to hang it. Now, some of these ribbons I used are wired, so I'm just going to twist them into spirals, and then I'm going to trim off any of the remaining ribbons that are way too long. The only thing left to do is add your hanger, and I'm just going to use one of the blue ribbons that I used in my tassel and tie a little hanger on the top. You can use whatever you'd like. I just thought this would draw in that blue all the way through the project. After this one, I then take out my pepper shaker, and I start on that one. It's the same steps for this little guy. I'm just going to use some different ribbons, and we're going through the same process here. Just stacking your ribbons, making your tassel, cutting your wire, pushing it through the top, twisting it around your ribbon tassel, and then pulling it up to secure it. And you have the same little tassel ornament that you had before. Alright, moving on to DIY number 2. We're taking this Dollar Tree Santa soap dispenser and we're turning it into something a little bit more high-end. It's cute like it is, but we want to make it a little bit fancied up. Starting out with painting the whole Santa Claus with black folk art matte paint. I then decided that I needed to move to chalk paint. It wasn't sticking that well, so I covered the whole thing with another coat of black chalk paint. Once I did that and got everything dry, we are going to take out some of this glaze that I got from a previous project, and we're going to try that on our Santa Claus. So I'm just going to take a little brush and start brushing it on and wiping it back every now and then so that the black will show through, but we'll also have the gold on there as well. Once I got finished with this, I decided it was just too much of a dark gold for me, so I did go in the end and add a little bit of folk art metallic gold, and I really liked the way that it turned out. It had a little bit of the darker gold and then that brighter gold and black showing through. The key to using this glaze is wiping back a little bit at a time, because once it dries it won't wipe back. So I did have to go over it with a little bit more black just to tone down some of the gold. And it was just a process of trying to figure out how I liked it. The way that I had seen this done before was using some rub and buff, but of course when I need it I can't find it, so I had to go this route. But in the end it turns out super cute, and I think it really switched up this little soap dispenser to have something a little bit more fancy in your home. Let's take a moment to talk about the playlist. It is hosted by Up All Night DIY and Shabby Meets Bling, and it is Christmas Town. Check out the playlist in my description. I am Mary with the Painted Peach, if you don't know. And if you like what you see, you can subscribe to my channel and hit that bell so you never miss a thing. I have this fabric that I know I'm never going to use, so this is what I'm going to use to create my project today. And I want to show you that if you are making something and you don't have the right color fabric, you can paint fabric. So I'm just cutting out a shape that I drew on here for a Christmas hat, and I'm just going to show you the painting process of this and all for making my little Santa Claus hat, and it is going to be a primitive Santa Claus. You had seen this previously if you watched my video about the buttons that I created, and I had created one of these Santa Claus hats, but I didn't show the tutorial, so I figured I would show you guys how I created it. Once I get my shape cut out, I'm then going to start painting. I'm going to use some red folk art paint. I think it's apple red, and I'm going to mix a little bit of Tuscan red into it. My Tuscan red's a little watery, so it looks a little crazy, but I wanted a little bit of a darker red, and this is a really bright red. I do end up going in and coffee staining it anyway, so it wouldn't really matter, but I just wanted to have it a little bit more on the burgundy side. So I just start painting the whole thing with this mixture of red and apple red and Tuscan, and you'll just cover the whole thing. If you can still see the pattern through it, just do another coat and it should be fine. Once everything is good and dry, which mine is not, you'll start the next process. But I'm going to put that one aside to dry, and then I'm going to go ahead and turn this one over to paint. And we're going to do the same process with this, mix the paints, and get to painting. All right, both of our hat pieces are painted up. So now I'm taking out this dust mop from the Dollar Tree, and we are going to get out our coffee stain and stain this up. If you want yours to not be primitive, you can keep it this beautiful white color, but I like the primitive look, so I am going to coffee stain mine. And when it goes on, it looks pretty dark, but it doesn't dry as dark as it seems. I started out using this cotton swab, and I decided to move to a brush that just wasn't working for me. You could also have the coffee stain in a bigger jar and just dip it in and wring it out. Whatever works for you. I didn't have the option to do that, so I'm just brushing mine on today. Coffee staining also gives it a great smell for those who like to smell coffee. It's not for everybody, but you could also use tea to stain. It just won't come out as dark. This coffee stain is just coffee, instant coffee in hot water, and that is mixed together. I also do a different one that has cinnamon and vanilla in it, but not everyone can have cinnamon, so I decided to start using it without the cinnamon so that we wouldn't have anybody having any allergic reactions. Now it is all stained up and I'm drying it very good, and then I'm getting my scissors out and I'm cutting it in half so that we have two pieces. We're going to have one for the front and one for the back. And whenever you cut that apart, it is very messy. You can see all those little pieces that fell off. That is extremely messy. Here I am coffee staining the hat portion, and I'm just going over it lightly. You just want to give it a good coat and then dry it completely before you move on to the next part. Here I am placing the hat pieces together the way that I want to glue them, and you're going to glue them inside out so the painted portions will be touching each other. And then you're just going to go all the way around the outside of the hat and glue everything except for the bottom portion. Right, now that you have it all glued, you're going to turn it inside out. So you'll just reach into the hat and pull the top through. Some of it may come unglued, and you can just glue those portions back together from this way. Now we are going to grab our coffee stained fur and add it to the bottom portion of each side of the hat. I just add hot glue. You could sew all of this if you want to, if you're someone who likes to sew. Hot glue works for me, and so that's what I use. There's also fabric glue that you can use in your hot glue gun as well. So this side I just go all the way across. When I do the back side, I want to make sure that my sides are also glued together so that it looks like it's all the way around the hat and not just put on each side. So I'll glue the fuzzy portions to each other as well. Once we get all of this on here, you just want to make sure everything's securely glued together all the way around the hat and on the fur. And you can see there it looks like it's all the way around. And right there I had a little bit coming apart, so I just added some more glue there. My hat is still not completely dry, so I was having a little bit of problems with the glue. Yours, if it's dry, it'll be stiff and easy to attach to each other. Now you just want to form your hat the way you want it. Get you a little curve up there at the top. I'm going to get out another piece of the dust mop and coffee stain it just to make a little fuzz ball for the top of the hat so that it can match the bottom. And then we're just going to hot glue that to the top as well. Kind of form it into a ball and use your hot glue to do that. The only thing left to do now is to decorate the hat. So I have these candy canes that I created out of foam clay, and I'm coffee staining them. I'm also coffee staining my greenery just to dull it down a little bit. I have a rusty bell, and I also have a little, it's like a tag, but it has Santa Claus on there hanging some candy canes, and I'm going to distress it up. I'm going to decorate this little hat with all of these pieces. Stick around for the final reveal to see the hat all finished up. Here is my last DIY. I have these two stockings that I got on sale last year from Hobby Lobby. They're little wood stockings, and I really wasn't fond of the pattern on them, so I'm going to do a chippy effect on them. So I'm starting out with putting some burnt umber paint on both of them. I'm going to make sure that they are completely dry, and then we are going to get out our chapstick. I'm going to go over the edges with the chapstick and in the places on the front that I would like to distress the stocking. And then we are going to get out our vintage white paint and go over the stockings with the white paint. I'm using a makeup brush so that I don't have to do too many swipes. It covers it really well and works great for this chippy effect. Then once we get them all covered with the white, we're going to make sure they're completely dry again. And then I'm just going to take a paper towel and wipe them lightly. And you'll see that it just comes right off. There's no scraping, sanding, or anything. The paper towel just wipes off the areas that the chapstick was at. And this is one of my favorite chippy techniques, and I love the look that it gives. Once I get both of them wiped back and to my liking, I'm going to take some Distress Oxide and go around them just on the edges, just to give a little bit of a framing. And then I decide I want to paint these beads all white, so I get the same color white and I go ahead and paint all the beads on both of the stockings. Now it's time for the final reveal. Here are our Nutcracker tassels. I think they turned out super cute. They'd be great as ornaments or just hanging anywhere for a touch of Christmas decor. And here is our Santa soap dispenser. I think this really brought it up a notch. I do think if you got like a gold pump, it would be better. Here is our primitive Santa hat. I think it turned out great. I love it just as much as the first one I made. And then here are our stockings. Very chippy, very farmhouse. And I think they would be really cute hanging out for some Christmas decor. Thanks so much for joining me today. I hope you'll subscribe and hit that bell. And as always, stay peachy.